بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة المتقين والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعد أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, we have the earlier session of Monday Night Boost tonight, inshallah. And today we wanted to go and cover one of the greatest persons that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has declared in the Quran, and that is the mother of Eesa alayhi salatu wassalam, Maryam. Maryam, the mother of Eesa alayhi salatu wassalam. Within Islam itself, Maryam, the mother of Eesa alayhi salatu wassalam, has a very high status, a very exalted place in Islam. And it's the only woman in the Quran by name and that woman has been given this high status in Islam. Her name comes about in the Quran more than 70 times. And explicitly, she's been identified as the greatest woman of all time. It's in the ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says of Maryam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen you, He's purified you, and He has chosen you above all the women of creation. So about past, present, and future. Maryam, the mother of Eesa alayhi salatu wassalam, is at the highest level amongst the women. In the Quran, her story is related in multiple chapters, in the multiple surahs. There are three Meccan surahs, three surahs from the Makki period. So that's before the Hijrah. And then there's four chapters or four surahs in the Medina period during the time of the Prophet ﷺ in Medina. And one particularly is named after her, and it's called Surah Maryam. Surah Maryam. The Quran refers to Maryam, the mother of Eesa ﷺ, more than the entire New Testament. So now you know the Christians follow the New Testament and the Jewish folk follow the Old Testament. In the New Testament, the name of Maryam is mentioned more in the Quran and less in the New Testament. And now according to the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has surrounded Maryam, the mother of Eesa alayhi salatu wassalam, with divine grace from birth. And so as a young woman, she received a message from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the Archangel Jibreel alayhi salatu wassalam that Allah has chosen her, that He's purified her, and He has preferred her above all women of the worlds. And this event, according to the same narrative, was followed by the annunciation of a child who was to be miraculously conceived by her through the intervention of divine spirit, meaning that there was no touch of man at this, ever. And that the name of the child would be Eesa alayhi salatu wassalam, and he would be the Masih, the Messiah. The Quran, and anybody know the chapter, the name of the chapter, the name of the surah that it refers to? Yes. Surah Maryam, but the family of Maryam, yes. Surah Al-Imran. It's Surah Al-Imran. So the Quran calls Maryam the daughter from the family of Al-Imran, and it mentions the entire story of how great the family of Imran is. And in the Quran, the mother of Maryam, prayed for a child when they were old age, they were unable to conceive, and they begged Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for a child, and she made an oath. The mother of Maryam made an oath to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, thinking and believing full-heartedly that if she's asking Allah, Allah will grant her the child that she's looking for, and she actually expected a male child to be born. And so the oath that she had made is what the child, expecting it to be male, that child will be left for servitude for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That person would always serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and stay in the form of, almost the monastery form where, I guess most similar to like a monk's, like what the monks do within their facilities, like just staying and just worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala day and night. So all of us know the story that she was not blessed with a boy, she was rather blessed with a daughter. And so the daughter being named Maryam, but remembering that oath that she had made, that oath she followed, Maryam's mother, followed through with that oath and still made the daughter, stay in total servitude of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now Maryam is mentioned frequently in the Quran, and the narrative occurs consistently from the earliest chapters that are revealed in Mecca to the latest verses that are revealed in Medina. The birth of Maryam itself is narrated in the Quran as well, with references both to her father as well as her mother. And Maryam's father, Imran, in tradition, for those who are interested in the Christian tradition, they refer to Imran as Joachim. And her mother, Hannah, in the Arabic, or Anne in the English, also according to the Christian traditions, this was the mother of Maryam, the mother of Eesa alayhi salatu wassalam. Our literature, if you go through the literature, narrates that Imran and his wife were old. They were childless, and one day they saw the sight of a bird in the tree feeding her young bird. So there was a bird. They see this in the tree, and it was feeding the bird, and that aroused the desire of a child in the mother. And so that's when she prayed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to fulfill her desire and to allow her to have a child, and that vowed that if her prayer, her dua was accepted, that her child would be dedicated to the complete service of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now let's get into a little bit of the early years. The Quran, again, Surah Maryam, if you read the beginning of the surah, it tells us and narrates to us that Maryam, the mother of Eesa alayhi salatu wasalam, grew up in the mihrab, or in a temple area of the prayer area, and she had a special place in the mihrab. She was placed under the care of the Prophet. Anybody know? Zakaria alayhi salatu wasalam. She was, and that was her uncle. That was her uncle. Zakaria and Yahya, these are all family members and from the lineage of Ali Imran. The Muslim narrative makes it clear that lots were cast, that there were lots that were cast as to who should be the guardian, who's going to take care of Maryam while she serves, while she devotes herself to the mihrab, to the temple area, to be in constant prayer and in dhikr. And the outcome was that she was placed under Zakaria alayhi salatu wasalam's care, who was also another prophet. And again, like I said, he's the uncle of Maryam. Now, every time Zakaria used to enter into the chamber of Maryam, he used to not enter so often, but every time he would enter there, he would always see her happy, and she's constantly praying, and she would have different types of food. She would always, have the best type and the best varieties of foods. And he would ask her, where did you get this from? How did you receive these foods? How did you get these items to eat? And so she would always reply that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who provides to all, to provide to whomever He wills. And so this has been a debate in the time of the scholars, where they've debated if this refers to miraculous food, that she was receiving food that only belonged in Jannah, but it was being sent here on earth, or was this just regular food that was just being brought in by someone, right? Or an angel is bringing in foods. Those in favor of the first view, that this was some type of miraculous food, state it had to be miraculous food, being Zakaria alayhi salam, being a prophet, and he would have known that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is provider for all sustenance, that He's the one who's going to provide. And so he wouldn't have questioned Maryam, and it was normal food. And the opinions of the scholars and the from the literature that we have, we find out that the foods that she was receiving was foods like out of season. So for example, if it's winter time now, and if it was food of the summer, she would be able to have the summer food within the winter time. And if it was summertime, she'd have available to herself the food that was available only in the winter time. And so that's the miraculous nature that they speak of. Now let's get into a little bit more about the actual miracle that takes place. This miracle is the actual virgin birth of Eesa alayhi salatu wasalam. And it is one of the most supremely important concepts within Islam and within the common world as we know it. Approximately how many people do we know are Christian or one denomination or many different denominations of Christians? Anybody? Yeah. How many people do you think? How many people are Christians in the world? In the world? Yeah, that's about right. What are you going to say? Say it again? A lot of people. Yeah, 2 billion, a lot of people. They're around that matches up. So yeah, about approximately 2 billion of the earth's surface are confused by this entire concept of the birth of Eesa alayhi salam, the miraculous birth. And then within Islam, we actually have the proper sources and tells us how the miraculous birth of Eesa alayhi salatu wasalam took place. Now, the first explicit mention of the announcement foreshadowing this birth of Eesa alayhi salam is in Surah Maryam, ayah number 20, where Maryam asks Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam, how can she be able to conceive a child when no man has ever touched her? And so Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam's reply assures Maryam that for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all things are easy, and that Eesa alayhi salatu wasalam's virgin birth will be a sign for all of mankind. Will be a sign for all of mankind. So right now, even the ones that don't follow any religion, they know of this birth of Eesa alayhi salatu wasalam. They may not understand the concept of Eesa alayhi salatu wasalam, and they do not understand the concept of Tawheed like Islam preaches. But we as Muslims, even with the miraculous birth of Eesa alayhi salam, we believe that the Eesa alayhi salatu wasalam was a prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now the birth is later referred in Surah At-Tahrim, ayah number 12, where the Quran states that Maryam, the mother of Eesa alayhi salatu wasalam, remained absolutely pure, while Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed a life to shape itself in Maryam's womb. Now a third mention of this announcement is also made in Surah Al Imran, ayahs number 42 and 43, where Maryam is also given the glad tidings that she's been chosen above all the women of creation. So we have three different ayats that talk about this beautiful annunciation. Now the different commentators in the Mufassirin in the Quran remark on the last verse that Maryam was as close as possible to a perfect woman as they could be, and she was absolutely devoid of all failings. Islam honors numerous women, including Khadija radiallahu anha wardaha, who's the first wife of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, Fatima radiallahu ta'ala wardaha, who is the daughter of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. And then the many commentators followed this verse in the absolute sense and agreed that Maryam was the greatest of all women of all time. Now there's other mufassirin, so like there's Maryam, and then everybody else is going to follow after that. Then there's other opinion, other mufassirin, other commentators that have said, well, Maryam is going to be the queen, meaning she's going to be, it's interpreted this verse to mean that Maryam was the greatest woman of her time, and that Fatima radiallahu ta'ala, the Khadija radiallahu ta'ala were equally great during the time of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. And Allah knows best, the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says of all time, that the proper, most opinion, the opinion that has the most backing and most proof is that Maryam alayhi salatu wasalam is the queen, and she is the best amongst all women ever, past, present, or future. Jibreel alayhi salam appeared to Maryam, who was still young in age. He came in the form of a well-made man, and if I can describe to you being in a desert world, when you go and if you've ever been to the desert, you'll know that when you're traveling anywhere, one of the first things that gets on you and that you're covered with is usually dust. So if you're going from one place to another, you're not going to sit in a car and go across the desert. I'm talking about in those times. You would either go by a horse or camel or some of sort of, even if you were in a little buggy and the horses are pulling in a carriage and the horses are pulling you, you still get dust on you. So now just think of a person who is in your house, in front of you, you're a young female, and you have a man in front of you that is absolutely shining, sparkling, beautiful, shiny face, not a sign of dust upon him. And this is the angel Jibreel alayhi salam, and this is the person who comes to announce the birth of Eesa alayhi salatu wassalam. Now she's absolutely astonished, she's absolutely surprised, and she was reassured by Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam's answer that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the power to do anything, absolutely anything. Now the details of the conception are not discussed during these visits, right? But in the Quran, in Surah 21, which is Surah Anbiya, ayah number 91, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He had breathed or breathed His spirit into Maryam while she was still pure, while she was still a chaste person, a person of proper character. Now, let's get into the birth of Eesa alayhi salatu wassalam. The Quran narrates the birth of Eesa alayhi salatu wassalam numerous times. And in Surah Maryam, ayahs 17 through 21, again, the announcement is given, followed by the birth in due course. And in Islam, Eesa alayhi salatu wassalam is also called what is Eesa alayhi salatu wassalam called? Anybody? Have you ever heard of Ruh Allah? Ruh of Allah, the Spirit of Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because through this action of the Spirit being blown into Eesa alayhi salatu wassalam, that belief does not include the doctrine of his pre-existence, as it does in Christianity. So the Christianity has this different aspect within it. Our belief basically says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala breathed his breaths the same way that He did when Adam alayhi salam, the clay form, was created, and then the breath was blown in. And so the body made of clay and dirt, and then the soul is the one that's put in. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has breathed or breathed that in, blown that into the human being. Surah Al Imran, ayah number 47, also supports the absolute complete virginity of Maryam, revealing that no man had absolutely ever touched her, before, during, or after the birth of Eesa alayhi salatu wassalam. And in traditional Islam, Sunni Islam, in accordance with the opinion of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, that this is an absolute accurate opinion. She never got married before, she never got married during, or she never got married after, and she was always single, and she remained single all the way until her death. When the angel Jibreel alayhi salam appeared to Maryam, and it's mentioned in the book or in the story of Maryam alayhi salam, when she withdrew from her family to a place toward the east. So when she became with child, she needed to go away. Right? I mean, how do you explain to a town? And remember, the towns are close by. Houses are not big as they are now, where you have, a house in one corner and the other corner. They're right next to each other. And a house is what? Just a place where people live, people stay together, and then, the common bathrooms and everything. So like the way the societies was structured, there was no way for her to be able to stay in that community. So she had to move and she had to go away. And she went east. And then she took in seclusion from all of them a screen. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Jibreel alayhi salam, and He represented Himself to her as a well-proportioned man. And she said, "Indeed, I seek refuge in the most merciful from you, so leave me if you should be fearing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala." He said, "I'm only the messenger of your Lord to give you news of a pure boy." And she said, "How can I have a boy while no man has ever touched me, and I've never been unchaste?" And he says, Your Lord says, "It's easy for me, and will make him a sign to the people, and he's going to be a mercy for all of mankind. And it is a matter that's already decreed." And the Quran's narrative of the birth is somewhat different from that of the New Testament. The Quran states, when the pain of childbirth came upon Maryam, she held on to a nearby palm tree. So like if you were to basically try to understand this, the way it's explained, if you read the tafsir and stuff, is she's near a palm tree and she hears voices from under. And so like it's not, nobody's under her. So the way it was is that the palm tree is near the edge of a cliff and Jibreel alayhi salam is communicating from down at the bottom where she hears the voices of the blessed angel Jibreel alayhi salatu wassalam. So when the pains of childbirth came upon Maryam, she held on to this palm tree, shaking the palm tree violently during the birth. At this time, beneath the palm tree, or is when she hears Jibreel alayhi salam saying, "Don't fear, don't grieve, don't be in pain. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided the comfort, the mercy for you from here, and shake." And so the guidance is given: shake towards yourself the trunk of the palm tree, and so it will let fall the fresh ripe dates upon you. So not only holding on for to help her, it's also providing her with the food necessary to be able to go through the painful torment that she's going through. And the Quran also goes on to describe that Maryam was vowed not to speak to any man on that day, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to make Eesa alayhi salatu wassalam, who was supposed to create, or who was supposed to be part of another miracle. And we know about the miracle of Eesa alayhi salatu wassalam that takes place either a few days to a few weeks, meaning it was early on, still in his infancy. And what is that miracle? Yep. He talks as a baby. So when the people started to point fingers when she finally goes back, now remember, she has a vow. She's making a vow. She's taken a vow. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has basically told her that she's unable to talk to anyone. And when everybody is, pointing fingers at her that she's done something wrong, something incorrect, what does she do? She points at the baby. She points to the baby, and at that time, baby Jesus, Eesa alayhi salatu wassalam, starts to speak full sentences, and he states 10 statements to protect the chastity of his mother. The Quran goes on to narrate that Maryam then brought Eesa alayhi salatu wassalam back to the community, back to the temple area, where immediately she began to be taunted by all the men, excluding Zakaria alayhi salatu wassalam, knowing he's a prophet and knowing the things that were taking place in the mihrab where she was, and she had the foods that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was providing her with. That knowing all of this, he knew that she was a chaste woman. Knowing that he's a prophet, he did not have that same doubt. So he believed in her and he believed everything. But the people around her questioned how she can have a child. How can you have a child? And so if you just talk about this situation throughout today and to compare it to our times today, if it was something that happened to a sister of today's time, and just think about the severity of the situation. How can it be that no one has ever touched? How can it be that, and so those same things, those same arguments that are taking place in the Quran that we still have today, how can it be? Like this doesn't just happen by itself, except for this one instance in the entire history of mankind. There will never ever be another historical moment of this nature. This is the only time where a person of virgin status has and bore a child, delivers a child in this world, and is the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And by no means, and we in Sunni Islam, again, based on our Tawheed, we believe, and we totally, completely believe within our hearts that Eesa alayhi salatu wassalam is the Prophet of Allah. He is not the Son of Allah, He's not the Spirit of Allah, He's not anything else but and only the Prophet and Messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Eesa alayhi salatu wassalam, when his mother is being attacked, he as a little baby says these 10 statements, and he begins to speak in the cradle and spoke of his prophecy for the first time as a little baby. Does anybody know any masajid that are named after Maryam, the mother of Isa alayhi salatu wasalam? Yes. This masjid is not named after Maryam.
Yeah. Oh wait.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew somebody was going to say that. This masjid, what is the name of this masjid? Or the masjid here? Eesa ibn Maryam, right? So it's Jesus, son of Mary, right? So there are a couple of masajid that I was able to find out about. One is in Australia, which is named after Mary, mother of Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. Mosque in, if anybody ever wants to know, it's in Hoppers Crossing in Victoria, Australia. I have no idea where that is. So, and then the other one, right here in the good old USA, the Mosque of Maryam, which is in the the Nation of Islam National Center in Chicago, Illinois. So the Nation of Islam has one of their own. Now, Maryam, like I said, the mother of Isa alayhi salatu wasalam is one of the most honored figures in all of Muslim history. Of all of Muslim history, I told you over 70 times by name mentioned in the Quran, right? And if it's not by name, then by reference. So, it'll refer to her as she, as the mother of Isa alayhi salatu wasalam as well. With the majority of Muslims, this is no doubt within the Muslim, so you know how Muslims argue about every single thing in the world probably? This is one of those that not one Muslim, not one group of Muslims has ever doubted the virginity of Maryam, the mother of Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, the miraculous birth of Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, the miraculous nature of the actual, speech of Isa alayhi salatu wasalam as a baby, the Isa alayhi salatu wasalam not dying on the cross and being resurrected, lifted straight to the heavens. Subhanallah. So, there's no doubt whatsoever within our tradition about Maryam, the mother of Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. Now, our Muslim women look upon her as an example because going through a miraculous moment like this, it's not easy, like I said before. It's one of the most difficult things. Being chaste behavior, she could have been angry, she could have been insulting, but she endured and she persevered. She accepted and she moved on and she relied on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Can you imagine that you just had the baby and you're not even allowed to speak to defend yourself? You're not even allowed, but full reliance on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah will defend her, Allah will defend her character. And He upheld her not as only at that time, but forever in the books, in the Quran, forever she has been given the ultimate status as the greatest woman. Some of the titles that Maryam, the mother of Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, has been given. Anybody know? Any titles? Right? So one of the titles, I guess, is mother of Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, right? So she is mother. But some of the titles, she's referred to as Qanita. In one of the surahs, the Arabic term implies the meaning not only of constant submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but also being absolute resolve in prayer and, in dua, meanings that coincide with the image of Maryam spending her entire childhood in the mihrab, in the area of prayer. And in this way, Maryam personifies the actual prayer, the actual spending the time, the dhikr within Allah, towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the contemplation within the religion, within Islam. She's also referred to as Siddiqah, she who confirms the truth, or she who has faith. She who confirms her truth, or who has faith. And Maryam is called the Siddiqah twice in the Quran, Surah Ma'idah, ayahs number 73 to 75. And the term has also been translated, she who believes sincerely, absolutely, completely. Absolutely, completely. Again, I told you, the resolve that she presented and she persevered this entire ordeal, the entire life that she had to go through with this, she was absolutely amazing. She's also referred to as Sajida. She who prostrates to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in worship. She was in constant sujood. And the best place that a person can be, and this is the best name that a person can have, is the person who constantly makes sujood. Why? Our minds, our brains, they're high. Like when we stand erect, and when we think of ourselves that we're such strong and such intellectually powerful people, and then you take the same intellect and you put it at the lowest level that you can by putting it onto the ground for the one who is above the heavens and the highest, above his kursi, above his throne, all the way at the highest level, and you were at the lowest level at that time. This is the greatest honor that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can receive by the person making sujood. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala beautifies that sujood and prefers that sajda over anything else in this world. Rakia, she also who make ruku', she bowed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well. Tahira, she who has been absolutely purified. Not in one time has ever her character come into question. And no one can ever prove anything. Mustafiya, she who was chosen. So out of all of the billions and trillions and quadrillions and Googles of women that have been in the past, present, and future, she was the only one that was chosen for this beautiful mission. And so she is known as Mustafiya. And then Sa'ima, she who constantly fasts as well. So all the things that a Muslim or Muslimah should be doing, making sujood, making ruku' to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being purified at all times, being chosen for great things to do. And today, you're not going to be chosen for this miraculous mission anymore because that mission was once only. But to carry out the da'wah, to carry out different activities that we need today, the person who fasts, these are all beautiful things. Many other names of Maryam can be found in other books and religious collections. She's been referred to, as the Virgin Mary, as you know, in the Christian concepts, and so there's other names that she's been referred to. But I kind of just went by the Quran and what the Quran has said about her. Now, the burial place, I wasn't able to find anything in our Muslim texts, but I did wanted to see what do the Christians think and what the historians have thought. So this is both from the Christian sources as well as historians also believe this, that the Maryam, mother of Eesa alayhi salatu wassalam, is believed to be buried at the tomb in the Kidron Valley at the foot of the Mount of Olives in Jerusalem, or in Philistine, if you prefer. And there's a Christian church on the site which was destroyed several times, but the actual crypt that's available there, it's remained intact. And this site is run by the Greek Orthodox Church of Jerusalem, who share it with Armenian Apostolic Church. And then a mihrab, a prayer place, is located at that site to also help and aid the Muslims if they ever wanted to go, if you ever go to Jerusalem. Allahu Alam, I haven't been able to verify the actual veracity of this report, meaning if this is true or not. I just wanted to point out to you that this is the one that the Christians and the historians point out. And this is all I have. Any questions?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
This is a question from myself.
Yes, sir.
I heard you used to go to Catholic school before.
Me? Yes, I did. Yes.
Yeah. So could you tell us a little bit about it?
The Catholic school? Oh,
yeah.
man.
What did you learn, and then how you compare with Islam? And then you grew up as a Muslim, and then went to Catholic church, and now, mashallah, become an Ustad. That's something that's probably rare, mashallah. So could you share your experience?
So yeah, I can inshallah share some experience. So when my parents moved into the U.S., and I was born and raised here, and as you know, you've been brought up, and now I'm dating myself, right? So I'm a little bit younger than what I look, but I'm a little bit older than what I sound like. So I might sound young because of the way I speak, but then I'm kind of older than younger than I look, because I have a lot of white hair, bald head, makes you look a lot, and then being heavy set makes you look a lot heavier, a lot older. Skinny people usually, so the secret to looking young usually is to try to remain as thin as you possibly can all your life. If you start to put on a lot of weight, it kind of adds on age as well. So going back in those days, so in the early 80s when I was of school age, at that time there was very few Islamic schools available. So, what do parents do? They want to give you the best education. So my father, he was a respectable doctor at that time, and still up and coming, and early in his profession, and he wanted to send me to Catholic school. And I don't think I went to the best Catholic school. I think the best Catholic school was probably down the street, but I went to a very good Catholic school, and that the people from that school usually went into good high schools and good colleges and got good education. So having done that research, that was one of the main reasons why I went to the Catholic school, because there was a limitation on Islamic schools. Now, you're probably asking, what about my kids today? Are they going to Catholic school as well? No, they're going to Wellspring. So alhamdulillah, now that we have Islamic schools, and you'll hear good, bad, and and everything in between. So they're going here because there's problems, right? Even at Catholic school in the 80s and 90s, there's a lot of racism, discrimination, and you would think that people who are of faith, that they would stay away from saying things. And they used to name, being one of few Muslims within the school itself, there was a lot of name calling and a lot of different things that were taking place. So I didn't want my kids to go through that. Now, from the actual perspective of the religious education that was provided by the school, and I'm going to tell you, neither was I knowledgeable, nor my parents at that time were knowledgeable of exactly what was being taught. But sometimes when we would come home with the homework, with religious studies, and you would learn about Eesa alayhi salam, and you would learn how they would say that he is the son of God, a'udhu billah, astaghfirullah, and we believe that he's only a prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you would learn a lot of these things. But having a strong base at home, I would say that the main thing that kind of probably helped me and protected me, even while I attended a Catholic school, is every single night, at a very young, very early age, probably I would say like 4 or 5 years old, 6 years old, I myself probably spent the majority of my childhood life within masjid walls. So alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah, while I was attending a Catholic school, I was able to also memorize Quran in the afternoon. So I used to go full-time school early in the morning from 8 o'clock till about 3 o'clock, take an hour break, and then every night from 4 to about 8-ish, 7:38 is probably the time, 4 hours every night, I would go to the masjid and I would memorize Quran. And so over like 7-8 years of my life, that's when I finished memorizing the Quran, still finishing Catholic school. And if you think that Catholic school finished there, my high school was also Catholic, where actually it was Jesuit, which is a particular saint, and I think their entire mantra or motto is men for others and helping others. And then the college that I went to was also St. Peter's, a Jesuit school. So like almost all my education, including my bachelor's degree, was all in some type of Catholic or Jesuit institution. I will tell you the main thing that what you look for is morality, right? Religious morality, people who are going to be upright, religious, they're going to give you the proper upbringing, how to treat people with respect. As I've never been to a public school in my life. I've never seen any classes live. I couldn't tell you the comparison. So if you ask me to compare a Catholic and public school or a Muslim school or a religious school versus a non-religious school, I couldn't give you that comparison, but I can tell you that, we were asked to respect the teachers. When the principal of the school came in, you got up and you said, "Good morning, sister," whoever, the nun was, and then I think we used to say, "Good morning, Sister Estelle, God bless you today," or something of that nature. And it was very, 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 well-mannered type of behavior that was being taught to you, instilled in you at a very early age. So I think that's how I was able to, balance like the Catholic school environment, being taught this, about the religious studies within the Christian concept. It wasn't world religions. You're not learning about Hinduism or other religions of Judaism or Islam. They never talked about Islam or Judaism or any other, maybe Judaism a little because they used to refer to Old Testament. But other than that, you would always never find anything related to other religions of the world. And so you were basically stuck there. And I was telling you that one of the things that I didn't know, and my parents didn't know either, is they used to go to church as well every first Friday of the month. And little did I know, I wasn't supposed to be doing this for all my entire life. Like while I was in kindergarten through 8th grade in this Catholic school, I actually was going to church with them, and I used to look at these guys doing whatever they did, and and then you kind of just followed everybody because everybody's doing everything. So until I became of age, I was going to say like 7th, 8th grade, when I found out that this is not within our religion, this is something that I shouldn't be doing, that's when we started to ask for excused absences, to not having to attend the church ceremonies or anything of that nature. So I hope that that helps alleviate some of the understanding. And then becoming the Ustad, that just means that you guys aren't working hard enough. You guys need to go and take some classes, become knowledgeable, and inshallah, then you guys can come here and I can come here Monday Night Boost and listen to you guys teach me. So that's the only difference between becoming the Ustad. Just educate yourself and try to share as much knowledge as you possibly can. Any other questions? We have a couple of minutes before Maghrib time. Question? No? Yes. Question? Are you going to give me the microphone? Yes. Like Saltullah.
What would you say is a good dawah point for Muslim life? What would you say is a good effective, because it's very big in the Abrahamic?
So I would start off with all the similarities. I would start off with you know what Islam believes about Mary, the mother of Jesus, or do you know what Islam believes about Jesus, the son of Mary? And I would tell them about all of the beautiful things that the Quran says. And this is how even when the Muslims, when they traveled over to Abyssinia, remember the king that brought in the Muslim groups, and then the mushrikun basically said, you should listen to what they say about Maryam, and you should listen to what they say about Eesa alayhi salam and stuff. And that's when the Sahabi, the companion, went in front of the king, and he recited some ayats from Surah Maryam, saying of how Maryam, the mother of Eesa alayhi salam, went through these different periods in her life, and that she had the announcement of the child, and then that she was going to have a boy, and he was going to be a prophet and a Messiah. And this is what I would start with all the stories with. It's like, this is exactly what we believe in. And then be like, well, if everything is in common, then I would bring up the point of contention is that Eesa alayhi salam is not equivalent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's a prophet of Allah. He's one of the messengers of Allah. He was blessed with one of the beautiful, most beloved books that was given to our prophet. And we believe in that original Bible that was revealed to Eesa alayhi salam. And we believe in the mother of Mary being chaste and of good character, and that Allah has made her the queen of all women. So that I would always start with similarities, and then if the debate started, be like, so why are we fighting, or what's the major difference? And then like the Eesa alayhi salam story about how وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ وَمَا صَلَبُوهُ وَلَكِنْ شُبِّهَ لَهُمْ, right? So he wasn't killed, he didn't die on the cross, and that there's just doubt in the people's minds, and you try to cure some of these doubts. Allahu A'lam. We have, I think, 1 more minute before Maghrib Adhan. Any final questions? Any final things? Yes, we have a sister here who has a question. Say it again.
When did Maryam die?
Where?
When?
Allahu A'lam, I don't know. I don't believe the actual date is available, and if it is, I don't think it's verified. I gave you a burial place of the supposed burial place. Allahu A'lam, again, I wasn't able to verify the accuracy of that report. Yes. All right, we good? All right, inshallah, we'll break here for Maghrib time. We'll go over to the masjid, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair for everybody who came today. Subhanakallah wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.